Welcome back. Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati projected economic growth to be at the level of 5.0% or in the range of 4.5% to 5.3%.
Through State Budget Press Conference February 2021 edition, Sri Mulyani stated that economic growth will be at the level of 5% or in the range of 4.5% to 5.3%. This can be seen from domestic economic recovery, as Sri Mulyani stated that it has begun to appear. One of them is the electricity consumption, which grew by 6.2% year-on-year in January 2021. It is hoped that the COVID-19 vaccination will be a starting point from the economic recovery. However, vaccines are not the only solution. Even though the COVID-19 vaccination program has been implemented, the public should continue implementing health protocols. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Through State Budget Press Conference February 2021 edition, Sri Mulyani stated that economic growth will be in the range of 4.5% to 5.3%. Very optimistic, right? The growth is possible to reach as vaccination has begun smoothly nowadays. It is hugely encouraging to see so many vaccines proving successful and going into development. Indeed, vaccines are a critical new tool in the battle against COVID-19, both in health and economic sector. At least 7 different vaccines across 3 platforms have been rolled out in countries. Let's see how the global vaccination goes so far through the first graphic. This is global COVID-19 vaccination facts. As much as 205 million doses vaccines have been disbursed, 6.4 million doses is given daily, and 92 countries had done or has done vaccination. And working as quickly as they can, scientists from across the world are collaborating and innovating to bring us tests, treatments, and vaccines that will collectively save lives and end this pandemic. And the pandemic will lead the economic recovery. Well, at least that is the best scenario. But end of pandemic is not easy. How the world and Indonesia deal with the pandemic will be the key to economic recovery in 2021. In this case, vaccines distribution is very important. Vaccinations have so far overwhelmingly favored high-income countries, with analysis finding that of the 80 million vaccines distributed to that point, only 55 had been given out in low-income countries, such as Guinea, where they were given to public officials in December on an experimental basis. And let's see what are leading countries in total vaccine doses administered through the next graphic. These are the list of leading countries in COVID-19 vaccination. United States had given to its people as much as 63.09 million doses. China, 40.5 million doses. European Union, 26.5 million doses. UK, 18.2 million doses. India, 11.09 million doses. And Israel, 7.13 million doses. While COVID-19 vaccination in Indonesia ranked 18th in the world, Indonesia's position is quite lucky, I suppose. Finance Minister Sri Mulyani Indrawati revealed that Indonesia was one of the countries that had the fastest to roll out the vaccination. This earlier start made Indonesia relatively more advanced in vaccination. The number of vaccines that have been injected as of February 22nd, as much as 1.96 million doses. This amount is equivalent to 0.76 times of the total cumulative cases of COVID-19, which reached 1.29 million people if 2 doses of vaccine are needed for 1 person. And let's see how far COVID-19 vaccination has gone so far through the next graphic. In Indonesia, of course. COVID-19 vaccination in Indonesia, 1.96 million doses of vaccines had been used as of February 22nd, 2020. 181 million people are targeted to be vaccinated before March 2022. 70% of population must be vaccinated to reach herd immunity. And 1.49 million medical personnel are targeted to be vaccinated. As priority vaccines will be given to health workers, healthcare assistants, support workers in health facilities, members of the Indonesian military and police, law enforcement, and other public service offices. The government also expects that at least 70% of Indonesia's population, or about 182 million people, will get vaccines. According to the president, the free COVID-19 vaccination program is key to this year's economic recovery. As we know that the pandemic has been raging for nearly a year, it has damaged global economy, affecting both developed and developing countries. And when it comes to Indonesia, for 2020 as a whole, GDP fell 2.04% for a full year, or a year earlier, this first full year contraction since 1998 Asian financial crisis. That was slightly larger than the 2% contraction in the Reuters polling, and roughly in the middle of the government's forecast range for a 1.7 to 2.2% fall. However, the country's economic contraction was much slower than in other countries. As comparison, let's take a look on the economic growth of Asean countries back then in 2020. This is economic growth of ASEAN countries in 2020. Philippines recorded as a country with the largest correction as in economic growth, as much as minus 9.5%, Thailand minus 6.1%, Malaysia minus 5.6%, Singapore minus 5.4%, Indonesia minus 2.7%, and Vietnam as the only country that recorded a positive growth in economic growth, as much as 2.9%. The pandemic causes reduced mobility and affects incomes and weak demand. Pandemic hit from the supply and demand side. Vietnam is likely the top performing ASEAN economy in 2020. The country has no single quarter of economic contraction. Vietnam was quick to develop testing kits and used a combination of strategic testing, aggressive contact tracing to help control numbers. And if Vietnam can do it, I believe Indonesia can do it also, right? Moreover, vaccination is now ongoing. It is hoped that the COVID-19 vaccination will be the starting point for economic recovery. However, vaccines are not the only solution. Even though the COVID-19 vaccination program has been implemented, the public should continue implementing health protocols. And how the world and Indonesia deal with the pandemic will be the key to economic recovery in 2021. Vaccines are the key weapon against COVID-19. And vaccination alone is not enough. Compliance with strict health protocols is a must. Keeping a distance from others, washing your hands, and wearing face masks is still necessary despite the vaccination drive as a prerequisite for economic recovery. Stay tuned on Market Headlines because we'll be right back after the break.